Prosecution calls Anthony Wellington, brother of Stuart Wellington.
Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do, sir. You may proceed.
Mr. Wellington, why would Miss Watson want to kill your brother?
Objection, speculative and assumes facts not in evidence. Also assumes the ultimate question to be asked by the jury.
Let me rephrase the question. Tony, are you aware of any information that your brother Stuart was keeping from his wife?
Yeah, you know it. He was secretly spending some quality time with Helen. Not that he was a bad person, but, well, you know what? He wasn't a bad person, but he got that way. He kind of turned into a bit of a goomba after all this business started.
Objection, Your Honor. This is improper character evidence.
The witness's testimony will tend to establish motive, Your Honor.
Overruled. A trait of a person's character may be used if it is logically relevant to demonstrating a circumstantial inference as to why they acted as they did.
Yeah, I remember it like this. I ran into Eddie outside the gym one day. He stopped me and told me how my brother was spending a lot of time with Helen, if you know what I mean. I got mad. Real mad, you know? I kind of wanted to punch him. I couldn't figure out how he could do that to such a good girl like Genevieve. Well, as it turns out, I guess I was a little out of sorts, and I started hitting stuff. Next thing I knew, I knocked out Hank and broke up a couple lockers, and Officer O'Malley was pulling me out of the gym. He told me I was going down to the station, and I'd been stupid for acting like a chump.
Let me stop you there, Mr. Wellington. Your arrest for assault. This isn't really characteristic of your temperament in light of your ambitious work as a youth mentor.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel's bowstrings witness.
Withdrawn. Tony, how well do you know both Edward and Genevieve?
Really good. Eddie and me worked out, and we talked about the fights. You know, he held pads for me and stuff. And Genevieve was my brother's girl. I don't know. I guess I was always keeping my eye on things with Stuart's big plans and all.
So, Tony, did Edward and Genevieve communicate with each other independently of their relationship with you?
Yeah, of course. I think Edward kind of had a thing for her.
Objection, relevance, and speculation.
Get in there, Your Honor.
Overruled. The evidence is relevant if it has some value to the case. But counsel, show us where you're going with this.
Then, Tony, from what you have told us about Stuart's affair, isn't it fair to say that Genevieve may have learned about it from Edward?
Objection, Your Honor. He's leading the witness.
This tends to establish motive, Your Honor. Let me rephrase the question. Are you aware of anybody else who may have learned of your brother's affair?
You may answer the question.
I guess, yeah. Edward probably told her. Like I was saying, he had his eye on Genevieve.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Wellington, you didn't personally tell Genevieve about the alleged affair. Confront Helen for that matter, did you?
No.
Did you ever have difficulty getting along with your brother, Stuart? A lot of the time?
Objection. Scope of cross, Your Honor.
Your Honor, this goes to show bias.
Overruled. The witness will answer the question.
Yeah, maybe sometimes. He wasn't the most likable kind of guy, and, well, we had our disagreements.
Enough disagreements to want to see him dead?
Objection!
I'll withdraw the question, Your Honor. Anthony, aside from your brother's relationship with Genevieve, is there anybody else who might have had some feelings about her?
The witness will answer the question.
Yeah, I liked her. Who wouldn't? It doesn't mean I kill my own brother to get a girl, though. Besides, I knew she'd never go for a kid like me. She had Stuart. And for that matter, I think Eddie had a thing for her, too.
Objection. Speculation.
Strike the part of the answer that relates to Edward.
Just one additional thing, Mr. Wellington. Your violent outburst there at the gym that day, it wasn't the first time now, was it? You've been in trouble with the law before, right?
Objection. Improper character, Your Honor.
I have a right to impeach the witness with his prior conviction. The minute he took the stand, he placed his own character at issue.
Overruled. I'm going to allow that, counsel.
Well, isn't it true you were convicted of deadly assault with a weapon? A crime that you spent 3 months in jail for last year?
I'm going to object again, Your Honor. It has to be a crime he spent over 12 months in jail for in order to impeach him,
Your Honor, it only has to be a crime that the witness could have spent a year in jail for. This crime carried a possible sentence of 15 months.
Overruled.
Yeah, I made a mistake. But I'm a good person now.
That is all, Your Honor.
Prosecution calls Seamus O'Malley, an expert witness in the sea trades.
Objection, Your Honor. Qualification of the expert witness.
Captain Seamus O'Malley was a member of the U.S. Navy, serving as a civil engineer in Kennebunkport, Maine for 20 years. In his tenure, he gained recognition as a specialist in the characteristics and behavior of certain vessels, especially with regard to certain technical navigation techniques and ship designs. He is most certainly qualified, Your Honor.
Overruled. Anyone may be an expert so long as they have the appropriate knowledge, as counsel has demonstrated. Please place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God? All right, you may proceed, counsel.
Seamus, how did you know Stuart?
Well, as you know, my beat is the shipping district where Stuart and Edward's lab is located. Not much happens there that I don't know about. Stuart and I also spoke frequently about our shared love for shipbuilding.
Based on your expertise in the field, what can you tell us about the plans for Fortune Cove?
Aye, the ideas were sound, I'm sure. You see, Fortune Cove is sheltered from nearly all inclement weather. It has virtually no tidal fluctuation. What's more, the cove is much closer than any location of this quality. In fact, I cannot think of another place with such desirable geography anywhere on the coast. It's no surprise that Edward had made a substantial investment, seeing as how he had the key to it all in his hand, the Wellington capstan, that is. The problem with such a narrow channel, like the one in Fortune Cove, is that even experienced seamen navigating the most advanced pilot boats and tugboats could not safely guide ships into port. With the capstan, even the biggest ships could be moved mechanically through the channel. Save for a hurricane, I venture there would be no problems. Alas, the difficulties seemed to mount for poor Stuart. Of course, for practical purposes, he was on the verge of a fortune, but his personal affairs were unraveling. It didn't help that he was consuming port wine like it was his purpose for living. I suppose the two enjoyed their drinking, but one drink too many leads many a man to carelessness.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance, and this is a confusing question.
Sustained. This is so vague it is likely to confuse either the jury or the witness. But counsel, this rule applies to questions, not answers.
Nothing further, Your Honor. I am done with this witness.
Mr. O'Malley, you are an officer of the law, correct?
That's correct.
Mr. O'Malley, I just need to ask you one question in your capacity as an officer of the law. Isn't it true that Tony threatened the life of Stuart when you spoke with him after his arrest at the gym that day, while you were trying to help him out with all of his problems?
Objection! That was part of a plea negotiation, Your Honor.
Negotiation?
Overruled. This statement was not made during the scope of a plea negotiation.
Aye, he may well have said it, but I'm certain he had no intention of making good on that threat.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. That will be quite enough.
Yes, yes. Won't does my baby call me
Helen,
honey?
the sharp, witty young scientist, such a fascinating subject. I must say I was almost a bit jealous of old Edward, working so often with her in the workshop. They both had such a peculiar interest in those odd chemicals and concoctions. Alas, it was really no bother because I had my meetings with the girl too. And I guess it wasn't news to most everybody, apparently. Helen and I had grown fond of each other. It wasn't that I did not love Genevieve, I did. The problems were almost self-fulfilling prophecy. I had actually started to believe that my relationship with Genevieve was nothing more than one of extravagance and convenience, and I turned away. When I was with Helen, I felt free, and she did too. We spoke of science and philosophy, but I did not, I could not let Helen get too close, for I did still believe in the importance of honoring Genevieve. But it was that very limbo that was like the kindling on a fire. And in the end, Helen was probably tangled up the most in the whole mess, and still she just kept her cool. I can still hear her saying,
"That's just how things go, you know."
Helen, you are well acquainted with both Edward and the defendant, correct?
My own sister and my brother-in-law's best friend, obviously.
How would you characterize your relationship with them?
Objection, Your Honor. This question is ambiguous.
Let me rephrase the question. Helen, What common interest do you share with Edward?
We both are chemists, yes, but he's much more advanced than I am.
What kind of chemistry did the two of you discuss on numerous occasions?
What do you mean?
Grace Wellington testified that you and Edward discussed poison.
Yes, that's true. It is interesting chemistry. But that doesn't make me a criminal. Does it?
No, ma'am. I am not suggesting that at all.
Objection, Your Honor. This is misleading.
Your Honor, testimony will tend to establish opportunity for the defendant. Overruled. Miss Watson, where do you conduct your experiments?
My laboratory. In the basement.
In the basement of the flat that you share with your sister?
Yes. Sometimes I'd work in Edward's laboratory, too. When Stuart was away.
Do you make poison in your laboratory?
Well, yes, but...
Are your concoctions capable of killing a human being?
No. Well, I mean, yes. But I would never.
Do you hide your concoctions from your sister, or would she have ample access to them?
Objection, Your Honor. This has been asked and answered.
Overruled. Answer the question.
Yes. She could walk in any time, but you've got it all wrong. The poisons that killed Stuart weren't mine. I'm sure of it.
How can you be so certain?
Because I used them to poison Sorry. I didn't want to hurt him or kill him. I just wanted him to go so crazy for a while that his business with Stuart would fail. I thought that if I could just have a chance with Stuart without all the fame and money, he would realize then that he was only with Genevieve to further his career. He was doing well, but what no one knew is that he couldn't have done it without my sister's help. It's true their love faded fast, but what no one knew is it was her secret investments that were helping run his business before he hit it big. And what's more, she really didn't even care that Stuart and I were seeing each other because she was enamored with Edward.
Nothing further, Your Honor. I'm done with this witness.
Well, I have no question, Your Honor.
We will reconvene Monday at 9 a.m. to hear the defense. The jury is dismissed.